Hello, we're doing our presentation on Chapter 12, Book 2 from Crime and Social Control in Asia and the Pacific. Hello, my name is Tiffany Trejo and I'll be discussing the first section of Chapter 12, which is Context, and it's about the change of ideology of social control from the time of Aristotle to today. So social control made its first appearance during the time of Aristotle, which is when scholars started to look into human interactions. Then the founders of social sciences, who were Emily Durkheim, Karl Marx, and Max Weber, generated a wealth of ideas on social control as they studied authority, power, and order in society. In 1901, Edward Ross was the first person to make social control a formal sociological concept. He said that a person's belief system, as reflected in law of public opinion, education, religion, custom, ceremony, art, enlightenment, illusion, and morality guide what people do and therefore serve to control behavior. After Ross, social control took a variety of interpretations in sociological literature. It was developed into micro-sociological perspectives and macro-sociological perspectives. Macro-sociological perspectives discuss formal systems including laws, the criminal justice system, and powerful social groups, and how they inhibit rule-breaking behavior as well as foster oppression, fear, and alienation in society. Micro-sociological perspectives concentrate on informal formal systems like self-esteem, family, schools, and peer groups. They attempt to explain how people conform by internalizing the external sources of control through an individual's socialization process. In 1951, Rees was one of the first sociologists to study the relationship between personality and social controls. He argued that social controls began with an individual and felt that delinquency was caused by a lack of social rules in the primary groups, a failure to follow social norms, and a breakdown of internal controls. In 1957, Tobey concluded that one particular person becomes a delinquent while another does not, is because of the individual's own state in conformity to society's norms or standards. In 1961, Reckless came up with the idea that for every individual there exists a containing external structure and a protective internal structure. Both provide a defense against deviant behavior. In 1964, Mata assumed that adolescents normally sense a moral obligation to abide by the conventional bind between a person and the law. These are the people that rationalize particular delinquent acts. In 1969, Hershey shifted focus from individual motivations to commit delinquent acts to individual determinations to conform to social norms in his work on the cause of delinquency. Hershey identified four social bonds: attachment, which is how closely a juvenile is tied to his or her parents, school, and peers; commitment, which is whether a juvenile aspires to educational excellence, vocational success, or other attainments, such as sports; involvement, which is how much time and energy a youth invests in activities that promote the interests of society; belief, which is whether a youth shares mainstream social beliefs and values that entail respect for laws and order. In 1981, Gibbs defined social control as an attempt by one or more individuals to manipulate another individual or individuals. In 1984, Black explained social control as all of the practices by which people define and respond to deviant behavior. In 1990, Horowitz developed a systematic typology of social control in terms of style, form, and effectiveness. More recently, Shaw views social control as any mechanism or practice for securing individual compliance, maintaining collective order and normative consistency, or dealing with problematic or deviant situations. He also explains control with regard to its sources, dimensions, degrees, substitutions, and restoration when he applies the concept of social control to the field of substance abuse and use.
Hi, my name is Lucian Gregoria. I'm going to talk about three major contradictions in social control ideology. In Asia and the Pacific, there exist three major contradictions in social control ideology. The first contradiction is between traditional and contemporary forces. The traditional force emphasizes conscience, self-discipline, family, patriarchal power, kinship, tribe, and community as primary source for aiding in socialization, order keeping, conflict resolution, and justice administration. The contemporary force, in contrast, stressed the importance of legal code, justice system, social organization, and governmental authorities in educating the young, correcting the wayward, and maintaining order, justice, and peace in society. The second contradiction is between socialist and capitalist systems. The socialist system advocates collectivism, a unified national ideology, one-party control, and organized social detail system. The capitalist system embraces individualism, open media, multi-party rule, specific reaction by specialized professionals, freedom of belief, doing time, imprisonment, and justice deserved punishment. The third contradiction is between Eastern and Western socialization. In Eastern socialization, the third contradiction is between Eastern and Western civilization. The Eastern civilization, people are cultivated to observe the unity between mind and body, between individual and society, and between society and nature. Western civilization, on the other hand, people are born of essentially adversarial relationship they have with their fellow human beings, social institution, and natural environment. Most critically, societies and countries that are in systematic transition from traditional to contemporary, socialist to capitalist, and Eastern to Western form of social control often experience an inevitable state of ideological ambivalence and practical disorganization. On the one hand, they question older social control philosophy and lament the declining influence of past or existing social control measures. On the other hand, they remain suspicious about new ideas and techniques for social control and have yet to see the full effect of any new approach or initiative in practice. Thank you for watching us.
I'm Mr. Richardson, and I will be discussing social control and the synthesis. Okay, social control ideology obviously not only influences individual thoughts and behavior, but it also impacts national strategy and policies on deviance, crime, social problems, and social control. What exists in both ideological bases and practical needs to bring seemingly opposing forces and developments into synthesis for the greater social good of peace, justice, and cohesion, along with stability. This is from White, 1996, and Marx, 1997. Changes begin with a bottom line agreement that no side or source or force should ever be singled out to bear the whole blame of deviance. So that means that there needs to be a collective understanding and notion that if one thing doesn't succeed, it's because of the whole thing and not just, putting the blame on policing or, other things of that sort. Crime and social problems and in society and beyond, that's what I was saying. In the book, it also touches on the topic of socialism. Socialism engenders individual laziness, managerial ineffectiveness, and political corruption while emphasizing collective unity. Capitalism
brings about egotistic selfishness, organizational manipulation, and economic cruelty while stressing entrepreneurial process or prosperity. Each side, source, or force has an innate advantage and drawbacks, and this is pertaining to social control. It creates systematic problems in some areas while it generates unique defense mechanisms against deviations and disruptions in other dimensions. Most important, deviance, crime, and social problems arrive on the scene in response to the dynamic of multiple factors in contemporary society when one side meets the other, when one source mingles with another. Also, social control, therefore, must stop assigning the blame to individual sources, but to move forward to developing comprehensive solutions for the whole system and its overall integration. With the no blame clause in sight, on the cause of deviance, crime, and social problems, there can only be a no incompatibility view for social control and its measures. There used to be hostility and absolute rejection of the other side's ideas, especially in the time of the World War and other socialist countries who were attacked based on due process. But as time went on, between the East and West, there was a famous clash of civilization debate ignited by Samuel Huntington in 1993, who speculated that an imaginative infusion of Confucianism was the realistic threat to the dominant Western civilization, which has later been proven was not the case. It is now time for one side to look into the other in social control practice openly and honestly. Although there is an increasing mutual understanding, still a suspicious reluctance and reservation makes it difficult for one side to borrow and adopt from the other critical social control policies. Also, it must re-examine many ideological biases it might have within its own tradition. Instead, it must incorporate every useful element from both tradition and modernity. Both socialism and capitalism, or both Eastern and Western cultures, into its overall social control system as it deals with a more nearly global reality of social forces.
My name is Brianna Johnson. I have the second part of the synthesis. Social control measures from previously opposing sources can be brought to work side by side, further entail that no workable control approach shall ever be sanctified as a panacea for any single or set of social problems. In fact, each control practice develops and works with specific people within their general environment. When it is stretched beyond normal capacity, it will lose effect and may even endanger what is supposed to be the general social order. For example, communal surveillance among people serves as a natural, customary measure of neighbor reminding neighbor, relative correcting relative, colleague motivating colleague, and friend helping friend when it takes in normal and traditional socialist or Eastern cultural settings. However, it can easily lead to mutual suspicion, distrust, distancing if it is forcibly imposed upon community by governmental authority as a normal or social control. Similarly, due process ensures openness, fairness, soundness in law, and its application in modern capitalist Western social conditions, but it may cause bureaucratic stallment, legal impasse, and ultimately control failure, and much worse, may even let loose serious criminals when it is superficially pursued as sheer formality rather than substance safeguard. The no panacea clause is especially important for developing societies as they eagerly look for sets of preventive measures or a system of interventional control. At a global level, there should be an ideology consensus that no country, no matter how strong, successful, or dominant in comparison to others can legitimately serve as a center. Their use to a stereotypical view of particular countries in the world. One country is viewed as a mere traditional forces, plagued with some ideological fever, or burdened by a country that does not facilitate social progress, whereas another is celebrated as an almighty supermodel or superpower, holding everything that is key to order, justice, and prosperity. In Asia and the Pacific Ocean, China is no longer an undisputable representative of tradition, socialism, and Eastern culture, nor is the United States an identifiable model of the best or modern capitalism or Western civilization. With a no-model clause, developing societies can learn specific and useful lessons from many of their developed counterparts, not just one dominating players such as the United States. One of the new ideological bases of no blame, no incompatibility, no peninsula, and no models, there seems to be one natural outcome: a synthesis of thesis and antithesis, specifically control must build upon and move opposing forces, whether tradition or modernity, socialism, capitalism, and Eastern or Western culture to face an increasingly dynamic reality. In developing societies, refugees, legal and illegal immigrants from the Third World, deprived and influence of middle and upper class households and manning garments, maids, and other types of domestic workers. The community is no longer closely knit. People come and go in their surgeons. They leave for work before dawn and return home at dusk. This is not such opportunity to interact with one's neighbors, nor is any community a shared area of unrelated people and events. Residents will share common concerns, and often social control therefore needs to be more flexible, specific enough to attend the needs of individual groups, but general enough to maintain universal standards, and gradual enough to gain understanding from the community, or informal enough to connect to the prevailing sentiment of its clientele, but formal enough to demonstrate the soundness of the whole system. Thank you.